Welcome into the halfway house, everybody. How we doing today?
It's Friday. It's not Tuesday. I'm still drinking wine.
Hey, there you go. So today's topic in the halfway house, with the Pro Bowl just happening, the NBA All-Star Game a few days ago, and the NHL Four Nations face-off in lieu of the All-Star Game for the NHL, we're going to talk about the state of All-Star games in professional sports right now. Yeah, that's about right, Dave.
There's not a state of All-Star games right now. It's hockey versus everybody else, and let's just put it out there.
Well, and hockey went to this national four-team playoff, which is great, but like you said, and like PK Subban said on ESPN the other day, is they're the ones that have passion in their game, and they're actually playing for their country. They're playing for the love of their sport. Like, I played hockey, and there's a passion you have behind playing hockey.
Even in past iterations of the All-Star Game, when it's the USA versus the world, or divisional, or whatever it was for hockey, even their skills challenges had some sort of flair and drive behind them that I don't see with a lot of other, the skills challenges, the NBA, and especially the MLB All-Star Game, are fun to watch, but I just think the NHL as a whole delivers a better All-Star product.
Yes, agreed.
So I agree. I think that when I watch, I'm gonna call out the NBA here. When I watch the NBA, it looks like a scrimmage. Like they're just in a scrimmage in practice. They're just throwing the ball up and down.
Practice?
Like, we're talking about practice?
We're talking about practice.
Let's not get confused here. We're talking about today's NBA, not Michael Jordan's 1990 NBA and Isaiah Thomas and Magic. We're talking about the state of load management NBA.
It's sad to see this. Like, this is where I go back to say
LeBron load managed. He load managed an All-Star game. Come on, really?
Yeah.
Like I get skipping the dunk contest. I get skipping the 3-point contest. You can't load manage.
I don't. Game. No. I go back to Dave's comment. Jordan was in the dunk contest. Dominique Wilkins, Spud Webb, they played to win the dunk contest. Larry Bird, Reggie Miller, they played to win the 3-point contest. Vince Carter played to win the dunk contest. I'm even going to go as late as Dwight Howard played
to win the dunk.
To win the dunk contest.
Never did.
No, he won.
Yeah.
He won Superman. Yeah.
He won Superman cape.
He lost.
I thought the Superman cape he got beat by Nate.
No, he beat Nate once and lost to Nate once.
Yeah. He lost to Nate the year he went into the phone booth and changed into the Superman cape.
I mean, fair. He should have won just based on that alone.
And that's the thing. Yeah. It's become this. And now you have a guy who is an amazing dunker, don't get me wrong. And but he's a G League player. Like,
doesn't he play for Orlando still in the G League?
He plays for Orlando in the G League. He started with the 76ers G League, and now he plays for Orlando in the G League. And it's the only three-peat we got to see this year. Just pointing that out.
And I tell you what, he's made, and ESPN ran this stat the other day. He's made more money from the dunk contest than he has in his professional career.
By like 200 million. 200,000. So yeah, that makes more sense. But
I was trying to wrap my head around $200 million in the dunk contest, but okay.
But that's the thing. Like, they put on this amazing spectacle. Like, I went to the All-Star game last year here in Indianapolis, and it was amazing to see.
Yeah.
Except for the actual All-Star game, like the play itself.
Yeah.
Like the game, the players, it was boring to watch that. But the spectacle that they put on was unbelievable. I just wish the players lived up to that hype.
And here's the thing, we're all over the age of 40, right now, we can all probably remember a time when, the Pro Bowl, the MLB All-Star game, those things meant something, to those guys. I'm old enough to remember, even the highlights of all-star games of, Pete Rose running over the catcher in an all-star game because they just wanted to win.
Yep.
Whereas, a couple of years ago, MLB, I remember I was out in Vegas with my parents, watching the All-Star game that went to extra innings, and Chuck Knobloch had to play 7 innings at second base and went like 0 for 8 and 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, to try and win the game. And here we're talking about, you're trying to win, you're trying to do these things. And I know we've all talked about this before, but the idea of MLB and having at one point in time having the All-Star game determine home field advantage when you have Chuck Knobloch playing 7 innings at second base was ridiculous.
Well, and we've talked about this with like the load management out there with these players. Like I get the Pro Bowl, like in the NFL, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to get injured, and that is a highly injured sport. But like the NHL, which they take out their aggression, they fight, they like what you're getting out there. Like look at the USA versus Canada game that we're going to get that we got the rematch of in the championship
Thursday night. It was last night.
It's that is intense. That's fun to watch. They're playing for pride. They're not worried about load management. They're playing because they want to win. That's why I always say that Jordan is the GOAT and Kobe is second, because those two players led by example and they played to win the game. Like they played no matter what, they want to win. If you watch
play
The Last
to
Dance,
win the game.
Yeah. If you watch The Last Dance, Jordan took a game of quarters against the wall as intense as an NBA finals game.
Well,
like,
wasn't there?
That's what I want to see.
I saw a commercial, speaking of Kobe, I saw a commercial, was Jordan's last All-Star game, hits the fadeaway with like 3 seconds left when he was playing with the Wizards. And the coach sent in a message to Kobe, we need to lose this game so Jordan can win. And Kobe went,
yeah,
we don't lose.
No, that's what, and to be honest, Jordan would say the same thing. Like he would say, don't let me win. Like,
yeah,
he doesn't want to win that way. Like beat me. And if you beat me, that's great. But play.
Right.
Like, that's what I want to see. Like, I'll be honest with you. LeBron James is one of the best all-around basketball players I've ever seen with talent-wise. He just doesn't play. Like, that's the problem. Like, he just thinks he's the greatest.
Yes, here we are. We're talking about a guy that's close to 40 right now, that's been doing it for 24 some odd years since he was 18 years old, about not playing. But Jordan did it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask this question. We're 8 minutes into just running off at the mouth about the NBA All-Star Game, hockey, baseball. Golf doesn't have an All-Star Game. You could say the signature. You could say the signature events are. How would you create an all? Let's tie this back into golf and say, how would you create? And could you say the Tour Championship is with the best 30 players from the year? You could argue that
the Ryder Cup or the President's Cup.
So I don't want an all-star.
That eliminates. I think the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup doesn't include everybody. So because it doesn't include everybody, I don't see
it does when it plays.
No, because the Ryder Cup is just Europe, so you leave out the rest of the world. And then the President's Cup is the rest of the world other than Europe. So everybody's not on the same field at the same time. So the only way you could really say it is the Tour Championship. Argue it every year that's the All-Star game. But how would you make an All-Star game in golf?
So I wouldn't make an All-Star game, but I would go that skills competition route, because I think that would be fun to watch, is have a few players in different events like you see on a
big break
scramble
style.
Yeah, almost like big break style too. Have a longest drive. Have a competition like you're breaking mirrors of or breaking that glass. Like who can hit this best shot?
Just don't get Chi-Chi involved in that.
No, go to here's the thing. Go to Augusta.
No, keep Scotty away from broken glass.
Yeah, that's also true. And the police. Go to Augusta and go to where Bubba hit his amazing shot in the playoff, and have people try to recreate that and get the closest to the pin as possible. Have closest to the pin from 100 yards out, and then move it back and see who can get the closest and have an elimination game. Show their skill set in longest putt. Like when you see that video of Jack when
Jack.
I forget who it was that says you can't make this putt. He just walks
Johnny
up.
Miller.
Johnny Miller. That's
Johnny
what I thought
Miller.
it was. I wasn't sure. So Johnny Miller's like, you can't make this putt without even thinking about it. Jack walks up and is like, you just do this, boom, right in the hole from 120 feet.
You know,
Like,
I think that the skills is a great out, but I'm going to go back. Okay, so you throw out the Ryder Cup, you throw out the President's Cup, put all three together, put the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup together, and you go off in groups of 3.
so, well, no, what if you do, go off in groups of 3, do what the NHL did with this year. Instead of doing an all-star game, have the 4 nations face off, or have the 4 continents face off.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, something that would be exciting. And have that maybe a bracket style of a match where you're playing a Ryder Cup and you play a few rounds in one day.
But here's the thing. It's not like, okay, you're conceding the putt or something, but it's US versus, Europe versus the world versus US. So you just can't concede a putt. You're going to get your points, based on, you win a whole, maybe, Scotty beats Rory beats, Tom, in some weird all round fashion that you're getting.
There's a lot of moving parts in that one.
Well,
Dave.
it kind of
Holy
sounds
crap.
like he's like a mid-major college football team saying they're the national champs because they beat this team, which beat this team, which beat this team, which ended up beating this team that won the national championship.
UCF hangs a banner, so let's not talk about that.
How many does Alabama hang that they just decided they were national champions too?
Yeah, but they're
that's a different
beer
topic.
league if beer league softball can figure it out, anybody can figure it out.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mike Leach.
I think I think that an all-star game in golf would be fun, and having that skills competition. I would like to see the all-star game get back to more competitive. I don't want you to get injured. I don't want you to do that, but I want to see you play basketball. I don't want to see this lobbing down court. Like the score, I think, when it was here in Indy last year, and funny enough, I have the jersey right behind me, was like 200 to 200. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind the flag football version of
I don't either,
the Pro
actually.
Bowl. I think it's fun, but I think it needs it can be more competitive. But I think they need to bring back the Pro Bowl skills competition where you have, dummy robots going across the field and
I missed
how
that with
far
the chalk. In the targets.
Hitting your targets. We've gone through all these iterations, and now, you reference it back to, right now Hollywood has run out of ideas, so they're just remaking everything that's out there. It's time that, sports have gone back and let's remake things that used to be popular back then and bring it all to a whole new audience.
But and here's the thing: if players don't want to play in the All-Star game, then don't have the All-Star game. You know what? Give them a break for a few weeks and don't even play it. I don't want to waste my money to see.
Here's my problem. How many great highlights came from the All-Star game? When you think about All-Star games over history, and I get where you're going from, but the dunk contest in Jordan versus Neek, or you think about that All-Star game at
Since
Fenway.
2000, how many have come from in the last 25 years? So ask that question.
Okay.
That's
I was
going to
go to the 99. I was going to go to the 99 All-Star game when Pedro came out and struck out the side.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
Once you hit 2000, that's where the decline started.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. The early 2000s was still competitive. I'll give you that. It was like 2012, 2015, that time frame is when I think you saw the decline.
It went way off the hill.
But that's when it was like they didn't care anymore, and that's the problem. So we talked about this earlier, and we've talked about this for years. Major League Baseball made the All-Star game matter in a sense, but it was a good idea in theory. In reality,
if you want that theory to play out and have, the winning team get home field advantage at that point in time, Randy Johnson needed to pitch 6 innings. Clemens needed to pitch 6 innings. Andy Pettitte needed to pitch 6 innings. Mariano Rivera needed to come in for more than one batter. so you needed to take that concept of a game back to, the late 70s, early 80s, when those guys played all 7, 8, 9 innings, and you didn't worry about hurting somebody's feelings because they didn't get into the All-Star game. And you played to win the game, and you did it for pride.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. A lot of those guys have incentives in their contract about getting in the All-Star game. So I get it.
So, great. You sat on the bench for the All-Star game. Here's $250,000. Thanks for having thanks for playing. Here's an ice cream.
Wow.
It's just like it's like incentives in the Pro Bowl right now. Patrick Mahomes drops out. Russell Wilson drops out. Travis Kelce drops out. So the fifth best position player at whatever that has an incentive in his contract is now a Pro Bowler. Patrick Mahomes is still a Pro Bowler, even though he opted out. But the fifth best position player at whatever is now a Pro Bowler and is getting their incentive too.
Well, and the other thing that I think is those players that aren't that are maybe up and coming stars are playing and trying to play a little bit at times. And it's those other players that just don't have that incentive that, like, oh, I'm in the All-Star game every year. Like,
Right.
that make it, I think it ruins it for them. Like,
yeah,
I look at people like, I'll take Tyrese Halliburton, who played here in Indy last year in the All-Star game. He had an amazing All-Star game, but I would have liked to see it be a little bit more competitive, so he could have shown off a little bit more instead of this, like.
Oh, we lost
Greg's camera.
Yeah, can you still hear me though?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to switch back onto something here, but that's my point is.
There you go.
That all of this, like, nonchalantness to these All-Star games takes away from those other players that are getting their first experience in it. Like, that's what ruins it for me. Is I want to see you compete at the level.
Lead by example.
Yeah, that's what Jordan did. That's what Kobe did. That's what Pete Rose did in baseball.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted to win.
Yeah, and if we take that back to,
but he wanted to win.
Wow.
That's right. He's on my list.
He already admitted it.
Yeah. So, let's look at this from, again, let's bring it back to the golf perspective here. Do we take this to, let's use Shane Lowry as an example here, who has aced some of the most iconic holes in golf.
Yep.
Do you take this to TPC Sawgrass? Do you take this to Waste Management? Do you take it to Augusta? Do you, and have it, like Greg said, your putting contest, just imagine a PGA All-Star game at the par 3 at Augusta.
Maybe you take one course, you rotate it every year, and you pick like what the NBA and what other, like, it goes to a different baseball park and a different NBA arena every year, and those two. Maybe what you do is you pick a place like Augusta, you play one round, okay? That's the All-Star, like, it's voted in, the top are playing in this just for fun. The money goes to charity, and then you have a skills competition on Saturday, and you play one round on Sunday. That's it. It doesn't count towards FedEx Cup, doesn't count towards World Golf Rankings. It's a 2-day event that showcases their skills, and a one round winner take all.
They go to a muni that none of them have ever played before.
That would be fun.
Like a Donald Ross track there in Central Florida.
I want to ask this question, to throw it out and ask this question based on what's going on at the PGA Tour, where you have this nonprofit entity and the for-profit entity, and there's going to be changes coming. Is that something you put under the for-profit entity for an entertainment perspective?
100%.
Yep.
Maybe the All-Star game is you take the top 25 from Live, the top 25 from the PGA, and the top 25 from the DP World Tour, and maybe the top 25 from Corn Ferry. Take those 4 and have those be like almost 4 teams, and you play a 1-day event where best of those teams scores, best overall, and a skills competition the day before.
Yeah.
So NASCAR has their all-star race,
The
which
shootout.
is their
Yeah.
they have their not the Bud Shootout at Daytona. They do an all-star race. It's a 600-mile race
Mhm.
in Charlotte every year. So it's their longest race of the year too. Do you make this a 90-hole event? Like, do we go the opposite way that Liv went?
No.
No, I don't think you do that. I like a one
No.
day event and 1 day skills competition. Like, do what everything
Yeah.
else does there. And you know what? Maybe do it in a pro-am, and everyone gets to pick an amateur to play with them too. Like, you can make this like they do celebrity games in these other events as well. To be honest, the celebrity game was fun to watch.
I'm going to ask this question then. Can we be celebrities in this since we're coming up with this idea and we get to play in it and we could do like live from this?
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, that's
Okay,
Nobody wants to see me play in this.
We each get you'll be
Dave,
on the
you
corn,
can
you're on
caddy.
the Corn
You can
Ferry
caddy, Dave.
team. You're on the Corn Ferry
Yeah.
team.
Yeah,
But
you
here's
can
the
caddy,
thing, it's
Dave.
just like, we've seen it, before. We've all lived in Central Florida. We know what the Nona versus Isleworth competition
Oh yeah.
used to be. That that was the all-star game of Central Florida. We've all been out and played at there in Dr. Phillips, the private
Bay Hill?
course.
Orange
No,
Tree?
the other one, Orange Tree. Where everybody has showed up to play in that Skins game.
That
as
skins
well
game
too.
is that skins games.
The
That
who's who
skins
of
game might be
skins
better.
games.
That skins game might be better than a PGA Tour event. I've
Yeah.
played in that skins game. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
Good luck.
that's the
So-
thing. So I would say, so to wrap this up, what I think we're all saying here is PGA, think about an all-star game. Maybe when you're doing all of these mergers and what you're trying to look for the future,
Yeah.
it might be a fun just little break for the players too, to put it in the middle of the season. And also maybe the NBA, Major League Baseball, and NFL to an extent, they're getting better, but have more fun with it, but be more competitive. Like, that's what we want to
Take
see
a cue from
in
hockey.
the All-Stars. Like, I'll say, when I was a kid and you got on an All-Star game, that was pride, and then you wanted to show off in that All-Star game
Yeah.
against everybody else.
Yep.
And that's what I want to see out of our professional athletes. All right, well,
Till
don't forget
next
to
time, folks.
check us out on the Golfing Dads Tavern live Tuesday nights. Check us out there on Facebook, YouTube, and now we just announced that you can hear our podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify moving forward the day after the show. So check those out as well. And as always, cheers.
Deuces.
I'm really fortunate, man. I mean, I have an opportunity to build something that's
That has gone viral on our TikTok. That somebody was commenting about playing Whistling Straits for 700